I focused on 6 different biases that I picked up from the Lean In 50 Ways to Fight Biases. And I pulled these up because it really, to me, focuses more on women, although it affects men as well. But since this is a CEWL, I wanted it to be targeted for women. So the first bias is really around performance. And this is a bias where it says there are incorrect assumptions that are made about women's abilities and men's ability. Um, there's a tendency to underestimate what a woman can do and overestimate what a man can do in terms of the performance. So there are these higher performance expectations placed on women than they are placed on men. You see a lot of performance bias coming out when there's a lack of clarity around goals, when you're not real clear on your goals or your objectives or how someone's performance is being evaluated. And that's why oftentimes the more specific you are in giving feedback, the less you have this performance bias. But if there are very generic very open examples, it's more subjective. It's harder to do something and address issues when you just receive this generic feedback. Um, Another type of bias under performance is called a halo bias, where you can do nothing wrong. You can be a high performer, and then that thought or that perception of you being a high performer carries on through all of the things that you do. And so there's this unrealistic perception that once a high performer, always a high performer. Attribution bias is when women get less credit for the things that they do and more blame. And it is closely associated with performance, right? So oftentimes there's a negative perception on what a woman does as compared to a man. Um, let's see. So as a result, the woman feels like they have to meet these higher expectations, these higher standards. They have these higher performance levels. Um, I think you've heard when a woman goes in for an interview, a woman or a man, and they're looking at the job criteria. A man would look at a job criteria, and if he meets 60% of the criteria, they go, "Yep, I'm ready. I can do this job." Whereas a woman, if she looks at everything and she feels like she needs to meet 100%. So there's this perception of kind of higher standards. And remember, all of this is on an unconscious level. There's a double discrimination and intersectionality. This is really, when I describe double discrimination, you could be a woman and a woman of color. And so you're dealing with 2 different types of biases that you're impacted by. Intersectionality that's really kind of the overlap of various different biases that are overlapping. So you can be Asian woman that identifies with the LGBT community. And so the thing is that it's not enough to just deal with one of the biases when you're dealing with double discrimination or intersectionality. And this comes up a lot in the workplace. And so we will have some examples that we will go through where we'll be able to see how this shows up. Likability, we expect men to be assertive, so when they lead, it feels natural, but we expect women to be kind. So when women assert themselves, they're less liked. So you can have a woman that is strong, direct speaking, assertive, and her likability rating goes down as compared to a man, where it's expected that the man is more assertive and it just feels more natural. The likability bias is very, very challenging for women because you're kind of in this double bind, and it's called the Goldilocks trap. And you can be either too aggressive or too kind, right? Too hot, too cold. And so it's never just right. And so you're always trying to figure out, how can I be my true authentic self when I'm trying to juggle how people view me in this role as a leader. Um, and so you kind of get caught in this trap. There was a study, the Heidi Howard study, where two leaders were evaluated based on their competency and the likability. And when they rated Heidi, they rated her less likely for people to follow her as a leader, because they felt like she was just very direct. They were both, Heidi and Howard were rated the same in terms of their ability to do the work, but the survey participants felt like they wanted to work for Howard because they felt like he would be a more likable manager to work for, because they felt that Heidi was too strong of a personality. Affinity is, we talked a little bit about that in the icebreaker, where we gravitate towards people who are very similar to us in appearance, right? There's similar beliefs, there's similar background. And so we're really connected to them, we really gravitate to them. And maternal biases is where motherhood triggers some assumptions that women are less committed to their careers and less competent. And I was talking to Stephanie before the presentation started, and I told her, I can remember a time when I was applying for a job and I did not tell the employer that I was pregnant, because out of fear that I would not be offered the position. I think that that's less likely now, but it does still happen. And also in maternal biases, women, mothers, they have to kind of juggle and redefine what it means to be a mother and what it means to be a leader. Maternal biases results in women not given some of the opportunities, the career opportunities, or not offered opportunities to travel because of the fear that they will not be able to kind of juggle.